Hello, I'm Joe Folger, a founding fellow of the Institute for the Study of Conflict Transformation. The Institute has created this video to help support our mission, which is to advance the theory and practice of transformative conflict intervention. The Institute has done a series of mediation videos to help illustrate the skills and practice of transformative mediation. And this mediation is one that was conducted by Judy Saul, who is also a founding fellow of the Institute for the Study of Conflict Transformation. Judy also founded the Community Dispute Resolution Center in Ithaca, New York in 1983 and was the executive director there for quite a number of years. The Community Dispute Resolution Center was one of the first centers in the country to shift to transformative mediation practice exclusively, and Judy was instrumental in making that transition at her center.
So I'm now a volunteer mediator with CDRC, the Community Dispute Resolution Center, and this session is one done there. And like many community mediation centers, CDRC staff do the intakes, and as a mediator I meet the parties for the first time at the mediation session. And as I referenced during the session itself, staff have talked with them and staff have provided them with some information, which I've also got in the mediation room and which I referenced during the session. Since these people came to talk about possibly changing the way they share responsibility for their children, I also mentioned the relationship CDRC has with family court. And it's a very close working relationship. And if people reach an agreement during mediation and want us to, the staff of the center can actually do the paperwork required to file that agreement, and it's reviewed by a judge and then becomes an order of the court. So we work very closely with family court. And they've also helped us create the information that we pass on to people about the definitions and some of the specifics that people need to know as they're doing parenting plan mediation.
At the end of this video, Judy and I discuss the mediation and some of the specific conflict transformation skills that Judy illustrates during the session.
So hi again. My name is Judy Saul, and I'm a volunteer mediator with CDRC here in Ithaca. Mm-hmm. And I know I introduced myself before, but you're Jeff.
I'm Jeff.
Hi, Jeff, and Shirley.
Right, Shirley.
So I know that staff talked with you a little about mediation as they were scheduling you for this session. I just wanted to check in. Would it be helpful if I went over some of what they told you?
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, so from my perspective, mediation provides you with an opportunity to have a conversation, perhaps a different kind of conversation than one you've been able to have before. I see mediation as presenting a lot of opportunities for you to get a better sense of the situation and what's going on between you, the issues that brought you here. It gives you an opportunity to not only hear what the other person is saying, but sometimes to even hear yourself perhaps in a different way. And people find that helpful. People have an opportunity in mediation to talk about where they want to go, what they want to do next, what resources they have to bring to a problem. And lots of times people in mediation come up with an agreement. And if you come up with an agreement and want that agreement written down, I can do that for you. That's one of the services that we offer.
So just what exactly are you going to be doing for us as our mediator?
So I'm here to really support you in having the best conversation that you can have. From my perspective, this is a voluntary process. So you are the decision makers. I'm here in a way to kind of help you make the best decisions you can, given the situation you face and the circumstances you find yourself in. So I listen, I may reflect back some of what you say. I'm here in a way that helps you think about the situation, that helps you listen to yourselves and each other. Does that make sense?
Do you give us suggestions? Or, I mean, can you assist with ideas?
We need help.
Yeah. So you're wondering about ideas. Do I make suggestions? And Jeff, you're acknowledging that actually you could use a little bit of help. People come to mediation usually because they want some help, and people often are helped by mediation, but not by me giving you suggestions or ideas, because that's not my role. My role here is not to be a person who provides information. If information, if you need information at some point, you can talk about where to get it. You can pause. You can make a phone call. You can, you can come back another time. I think staff sent this information to you, but I have here as well. My understanding is that you're here to talk about your children and maybe do some changes in the way you share responsibility for them. So the agency's created this checklist that people sometimes find helpful, and that's something you may want to refer to. And they also have this information from the courts about parenting plans and a little bit about child support as well. So that kind of information is here for you to refer to if it's useful. If you need more information, if you want to consult an attorney at any point, that's certainly up to you. You get to make all the decisions, including that one.
All right.
So we don't have to talk about all this stuff.
That's right.
Okay.
You get to
a lot of it's
decide.
not really even relevant, really.
Right,
A lot of
okay.
it we've dealt with.
But I do.
Again, you're the decision makers. You're here as long as it's useful. Sometimes people, in the course of the hour that we've set aside today, wrap things up, get an agreement. Other times, people want to come back for another session. Sometimes people find that before an hour's up, they've had enough, and they want to end the session at any point. That's up to you. It's also fine if you want to take a break. You should feel free to suggest it. Sometimes people find it useful to meet one-on-one with me as the mediator. And if you'd like to do that, you could ask for it. If I think it would be helpful, I might suggest it. Whether or not it happens is up to you. Because again, you get to make those kinds of decisions. From my perspective, this is a confidential process, so which means that I won't be talking to anyone outside the agency about what you discuss here. And I will not give any report to a court or any kind of administrative body about anything you say here. So as far as I'm concerned, what I'm hearing is confidential.
Okay.
If you do reach an agreement and you want that agreement to go to the court, then that's an option that the agency assists with. And after the mediation, staff would work with you on that. Okay?
Yeah.
So we have actually a consent to mediate form that we ask people to look at. The one thing that is on here actually that I neglected to mention is that the one exception to confidentiality is if there's any allegations of child abuse or abuse of a vulnerable adult. And that is information that I do have to report out. So if you want to look, that's basically kind of goes over the things that I just said to you. If you have any questions about any of that, you should ask me. If you're comfortable signing it, that would be great, but we can go ahead whether you sign it or not.
Okay.
Okay.
So
we could come up, if we change whatever arrangements, we can write it up, and that could be submitted to the courts? And would we still have to go to court to change anything then, or does that...
No, actually, the agency works very closely with family court. So what I do here is help you figure out what it is you want to agree to or decide, what decisions you want to make.
Okay.
If, in fact, you get to an agreement that you want written down, I can help you write that down.
Okay.
And then staff would take that, and there's some paperwork that they have to file. It has to be notarized, I think, and then they send it over to the court. It's reviewed by a judge because any agreements that have to do with a child are not enforceable unless they're entered into the court. So
Okay.
it's possible the judge would call you in to speak with you if he or she has any concerns, but most of the time they accept mediated agreements, and that stands, then becomes an order of the court.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you, Shirley?
Well, we just have got some issues. We're just kind of, I think we've been rolling along here pretty good, about 6 years. It's just been 6 years. And I think we've worked pretty well together. And not without its challenges. It's been pretty hard. But I think that now we're at a place where we need to maybe rethink some things, because it's just feeling like it's getting more and more rocky. I'm less and less comfortable with the situation.
So you're saying that for 6 years or so, you've been working things out pretty well, things have been going, going well, but lately there are some issues. It's been getting rocky, and it feels to you like there are some things that really need to get worked out.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, the kids are growing. I mean, they're older now, so there's I don't know what you mean by rocky. I mean, they're different. They're older. They're more independent, and so I'm not quite sure. I mean, this is where we have a disagreement where he thinks it's rocky, but I don't actually. Doesn't seem to me like it's rocky. So I don't. It seems like they're just being teenagers, you know.
Well, yeah, but teenagers need a lot of help. I mean, we can't just let them freeform.
Yeah.
Especially Kimmy now. I mean, you know, John he's a pretty level-headed kid, except I don't even know about that anymore, but up to this point he's been pretty level-headed and easy to manage, but you know, our little girl is proving to be a different story. You don't even see it. You don't even.
Well, I don't have that experience with her at all. I don't.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
You don't see the changes?
There's definitely changes happening, but they're
and that
normal
doesn't concern you.
She's growing. She's
Yeah.
becoming a young woman. It's like normal. It's like
Oh, I don't know if it's normal or not.
Well, you never became a woman, so you don't know what that's like.
So Shirley, you're saying you see changes in Kimmy, but for you, they don't seem as problematic. You see those as the changes that happen as she becomes a woman.
Yeah, I mean, it's tumultuous, but I don't think anything outside of the norm for a 13-year-old.
I really have I really disagree with that. She has gotten much more withdrawn. I understand a little bit, maybe. You know, going through changes, you know, body and physiologically and in her mind and socially, I know all of that. But I mean, she's really withdrawn. She's just not my Kimmy anymore. I mean, I try to talk. We used to sit for, you know, it was nothing for us to sit for an hour at night and just chew the fat. I mean, we just had so much fun, and I'm lucky to get 5 minutes out of her now, and that's just not right. There's something's up with my little girl, and you know, I'd be really happy to just, you know, pawn it off on she's growing up, but if that is it, then something needs to be done. She needs help. She needs help.
Help, like
I don't know, help, kind of coming out of the shell, moving beyond this kind of.
But I think
it's
if
almost
you
like
do
she's
that,
depressed.
I don't think that she's. I don't think she's depressed. I think she has a lot of emotions. I don't. I mean, if you go and start to talk to her like she needs help, I think that's going to make it far worse. Or you take her someplace, I think it'll make it far worse. I think really you have to deal with your own stuff about the fact that she's detaching from you.
Oh, my stuff. So now this is my stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think you need to kind of pull your head out of the sand, because this isn't just kind of normal stuff.
So you see what's going on with your daughter Kim in really different ways, and that's one thing you've been talking about here, Jeff. You feel like Shirley's got her head in the sand, and she better pull it out of the sand. You see, you experience Kimmy as being in a shell. Your sense is that she's withdrawn. You used to talk with her for a long time. That doesn't happen anymore. And Shirley, you see this as just sort of part of normal growing up and her becoming a woman, and she's changing, yes, but for you there's not it doesn't create concern. And then that's one disagreement, how you even interpret what's going on with Kim. And another disagreement seems to be about how you should respond. And Shirley, you're concerned that if in fact you start to talk to her about taking her somewhere, it's going to make things worse. And Jeff, you're at least hinting that perhaps she may need some assistance. Maybe, in fact, she's depressed. So that's pretty different.
I really think, I think the problem is that they neither one of them feel like they can talk to you. Like,
What?
I don't,
How can you say that?
because they're talking to me about stuff.
Well, for the first time in their lives, maybe that's why.
The first time in their lives that they're talking to me?
Yeah. Kimmy's never been able to talk to you.
Well,
Never.
maybe that, I don't think that that's true. I think that's pretty, it's likely she's never been able to talk to me. She's been able to talk to me. She's been very close to you, but there's also, I don't think that's fair for you to say that. It's actually pretty insulting.
So you're actually feeling insulted, Shirley.
Yeah.
Because Jeff's saying that.
Why do we have to fight? Why do you want to fight?
Fight
It's
because
like you
you're
want to
telling me
fight.
it's my issues. This is not my issue.
All I'm
this
saying
is,
is
not
maybe
something
you
I
need to
help
look
for.
at your issues.
Yeah,
maybe
and
you need to look at you.
Look at yours too.
I don't have a problem
I'm not
with
talking
going
about
what's
me.
going
Don't
on.
make this my issue. I want to talk about our kids and what I see going on with my kids. This is not my stuff. I am making objective observations about what I'm seeing, and it's not good.
So, Jeff, you're really concerned, and you're saying it's not about you. It's not your
No,
stuff.
it's
You're
not.
making what you define as objective observations about what's going on, and you're concerned and you're angry that Shirley is implying that somehow this is your stuff. You're here to talk about Kim, not
Right.
about you.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. In a family, which we have a family, even though we live in separate houses, we all have our own stuff, right? And that's my problem with you, is that when I try to explain to you or to talk to you about maybe have you be a little reflective and look at yourself, that's how you respond. You immediately start attacking, saying, it's not my stuff, it's not my stuff. Maybe there is something for you to look at for yourself.
Okay, so maybe there is. That's
Okay,
irrelevant.
good.
That's irrelevant.
Why would that be
Why do
irrelevant?
you even want to go there?
Because you want to understand what's happening with your children more, and you don't. I actually don't have a problem with where they're at. You're the one who has an issue. I would like it if you didn't have an issue.
You don't have a problem with just about anything.
That's not true.
And as long
not
as it
true.
doesn't impact you or have a direct negative impact on your life, it's fine. I can't be that way. I see these things happening. I see it unfolding. I want to be proactive. I don't want to react
Have you talked
to
to
something
them?
down
Have you
the
tried
road.
to talk to them?
I've tried,
And?
but that's part of the problem. I can't get anywhere anymore. I
Okay.
used to be able to, and something is wrong. I just can't deal with them. They have really shut down.
So again, a lot of disagreement here, and some pretty vehement disagreement about your response to the problem or is there a problem, the way you're interpreting your children's behavior. And Shirley, you don't have an issue with it. You said pretty clearly, for you, there is not an issue.
Sure, don't have
Jeff?
an issue with anything.
Yeah,
Stop
that's
it.
what you're saying.
Stop it.
That for Shirley
It
doesn't
do
have
any good to
issues.
keep attacking me. Why do you keep doing
I am
that?
not. You're the one that's attacking.
I'm not attacking you. I'm not. I am not. Everything I say, you come back with little daggers at me.
So you feel like you're not trying to attack
No, I'm
Jeff.
not.
And you feel like when you try to give him information, when you try to talk to him about what's
Makes
going
no
on,
difference.
he comes back at you with little daggers.
They've stopped communicating with me. We used to go to mass every Sunday. It was something we all did without even thinking about it. We just did it. There was never any resistance. We always went out for breakfast afterwards, and it was always our time. And now suddenly John doesn't want. I can't even get him up. And it's not like he just is tired. He just does. It's like he doesn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
And
He doesn't.
Kimmy.
It's true. He doesn't want anything to do with it. You're right.
And I think he should. I think he should, as a part of kind of being a family. There's things we do together, and just because you don't feel like doing it doesn't mean you don't do it. It's part of what it means to be a family. And Kimmy is I don't know. I'm beginning to see some of the same stuff with her. She doesn't. Not only does she not want to go to mass with me and have breakfast, but I can't talk with her anymore. She stays in her room. She's depressed. She doesn't even want to go back to your house at the end of the weekend. She's like, do I really? It's just, and she,
Well, I didn't know that she didn't want to come back to the house.
she doesn't want to do anything. She doesn't want to do anything.
She wants to lay around on the couch and do nothing.
That's wrong. There's something
Well,
wrong.
I don't think it's wrong. I think it's a normal thing for a 13-year-old girl. I think it's just what they do.
So
Almost 13.
for you,
I think it's,
and
it's normal. And then you have to find ways to get them to do things, or you've got to try to pull them out somehow. But if you start relating to them like there's something wrong, then how they think is that there's something wrong with them. And that's what you do. You relate to them like there's something wrong. They
I
don't
am
think
not creating a problem here. There is a problem. I'm responding to it.
So, Jeff, you said that a couple of times. For you, there's clearly a problem. You mentioned that John and Kim both always used to go to Mass with you on Sunday morning. You'd go out and have breakfast afterwards. It was part of what it meant to be a family. It was an important thing with them. And now John doesn't want to get out of bed, and and Kim is starting to be reluctant to go with you. In addition, you're not able to talk to her anymore in the way that you used to. And for you, those are all markers of problems. And
they are problems, and it feels like the family's beginning to disintegrate. It's the things that we held together, that held us together, that we kind of came around together. Are no longer happening, and if they are happening, it's like pulling teeth to get them to happen. And I don't think I'm getting any kind of support from the other side. I just don't feel like it. I feel like this is just a big uphill battle, and every week I feel like I'm losing a little bit more.
So it's pretty strong language, Jeff. That it's an uphill battle, that the things that held your family together, the things that integrated you, are beginning to disintegrate. And it feels like every week you lose a little more. And it sounds like you're concerned that it's all coming apart. And Shirley is not providing any help. Shirley's not doing anything that supports you in your attempts to keep this family together.
Well, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that to you.
I don't know, Shirley. I mean, it feels like we can try to negotiate some kind of a structured kind of visitation thing, but it all feels kind of empty, hollow if we don't address what I feel like is going on. I don't think structuring a new a visitation schedule, or I'm not sure that's going to address our problem here.
Yeah. I don't think it will either. Because you can't force them to do things they don't want to do.
Well, I don't know. I guess I disagree with that. I think you can.
Well, how's it been going doing that?
Well, on my own, without any support, not so well. If they know they got options, they're going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do things like you do. I'm not.
So Shirley, you're saying it's not working. I mean, it's not. You agree that just negotiating changes in the schedule is not going to work because the children are in an age where they're going to kind of do what they want to do, and
well, I mean, you can force them to go along, and what they'll do is they'll lay on the couch and not engage, right. And it's not going to take care of what Jeff has as a problem.
So
forcing them.
So forcing them to do things is
right.
not going to address the problems the things that Jeff identifies as a problem.
Yeah.
So you're just feeling like that simply wouldn't work.
Well, and you're not even motivated to deal with this because you don't even see it as a problem. So I feel like I'm spinning my wheels here. It's like, what good? I mean, if you don't share the concern or see the need to do something, why are we even here? I guess.
It's a good question. Why are we here?
Well, I'm here for the well-being of my children, and I don't think you're here for the well-being of your children. I think you're here for your own egotistical desires. Yeah, I know you do. That's the problem.
So you really, even the motivation to come to this mediation is something that you really disagree about. And Jeff, you're saying you're here because you care about your children, the welfare of your children, and Shirley, you really think it's all about Jeff's ego and his...
Yeah, he doesn't listen to them. If they want to talk to him, they don't think it's safe to talk to him about the things that are going on.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
have they told you that? Or is that just your
I'm not going to say to you
interpretation?
what they say to me.
Is that your interpretation, or have you heard that from them?
I'm not going to say to you what they say to me.
Yeah. I don't trust that for a minute.
You could go ask them. You could say that I said that. Is that true? You could go ask them. I'm not going to speak for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, then I will.
Good.
So you're not going to speak for the children?
No.
You feel like what they say to you is in confidence is something that you're not willing to share with Jeff.
And that's the whole problem. There's no sharing. There's nothing. I feel like I'm over here, you're over here, I'm trying to do things with them, you're off doing whatever it is, you're whatever, and and I'm lost. Yeah, I mean, you won't.
So you're feeling lost, you're way over here and Shirley's somewhere else completely, and there's no support coming to you in terms of what you're trying to accomplish?
It's just she's just in another world, and
you won't listen to me. What I try to give you as support, you won't listen to me. So what's the point of me even trying to talk to you? Why should I try? Because I don't say to you what you want me to say to you. So then you say everything I say is not support. You say everything that I do with the way I live, whatever I do with the way I don't see things. Everything about what I think, do, say, hear, be is wrong.
Ditto.
So what's the point of me even trying to talk to you?
That's my question.
But at the same time, you want me to give you support, and you want me to make it all work for you, and want me to give you all this, but it's like I'm in a little box. You got me in a little box, and it's the same thing you do to them. And then you say you don't.
So it feels to you, Shirley, like Jeff's got you in a little box. He says he wants support, but the things you try to say to him, the way in which you try to be supportive, are not perceived by him as support. Mm-hmm. He's not able to listen to the things you say. He rejects them out of hand. And you're also saying that that's what he's doing with the children. That's what he's doing with Kim and John.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm not saying you don't love them. I'm saying that you're doing that to them.
So Jeff's doing to them what he's doing to you.
Yeah.
And it's not about whether or not he loves them.
It's not.
But
I don't know. I don't know. Shirley, you might, I guess, certainly, I'm not saying that I don't have room to grow in this, what it means for me to be a parent. John was pretty easy. But John and I were never really, close. I mean, we were close enough. But it's killing me with Kimmy. It's killing me. I don't know what to do. And I'm just kind of floundering here, and part of me thinks it's my fault. Part of me thinks it's not my fault. And I don't...
So you're really confused, Jeff. It's not making sense. I mean, and you said that you and John are close enough, but you and Kimmy have been really close. You said that before, and now you feel like you're losing that closeness, and you don't know what to do.
I'm out of my element.
And you're saying you're out of your element. You're in over your head. You're lost in terms of how to respond, and feeling like you're not getting any help from Shirley. It'd be nice if you could, but it's not working that way.
It was just fine. It's been fine. I just don't get it. Why all of a sudden? And I just can't buy into it being that she's changing, going through her...
It's not just her that's changing. It's also John. You don't even pay attention to him. And they're close.
I pay attention to him.
Yeah, but you don't even notice that he's going through major changes. You don't even notice that. Your biggest concern is that Kimmy's not as close to you. Maybe there's something, I don't know.
He's going through changes?
The fact that that's a question for you is
What's going on? What do you mean?
he's 16. He's going through changes, and John and Kimmy are close.
What kind of changes? What do you mean?
He's 16. Did you go through changes when you became 16? When you were in that age range, you're changing all the time. There's all kinds of stuff happening.
I was busy.
Right. But you're not there for him like that. You're not there to talk to him about what's going on or how is he or what's happening. She is. She's there for him. I'm there for him, but you're not there for him.
So you're seeing a lot of things, Shirley. You're describing a lot of things that you see that Jeff doesn't see. With John as well as with Kimmy. You say John at 16 is going through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And he's talking to, it sounds like he's talking to you about those changes. He's talking to Kim about those changes. He's not talking to Jeff about those changes.
Jeff doesn't.
Because Jeff doesn't see it.
I think that for John, he doesn't think that you're interested.
Well, I could say the same about Kimmy and you.
Okay.
I mean, that you could sit there and say that it's just normal stuff blows my mind.
So that kind of blows your mind that Shirley can say that what's going on with Kim is just normal stuff.
It's ridiculous. It's not normal. She needs help. And she's afraid to come to you. She doesn't even want to leave.
She's not afraid to come to me.
She doesn't even want to leave my house when she goes back home.
So a lot of differences.
I mean, and I haven't even said anything about that. I just notice it. It's
well, maybe you should ask
change.
it. Maybe you're interpreting something like in a way that is not accurate because.
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I know her too well.
You knew her too well. Maybe you don't know her anymore.
So that's one of the fundamental disagreements between you here. One of the differences in the way you understand what's going on with your children right now. With Kim especially, but even with John. You surely see changes happening. You see things that are not outside the realm of normal for you, but are a lot is going on with John as well as with Kim. And Jeff, for you, you don't see a lot of change in John. You see some change in John, but it's Kim that you're mainly worried about. And it's really hard for you to to imagine that Shirley is not as concerned as you are. So real differences in terms of how to move forward with this.
I think we need to get some advice. I think it would be a good idea to get Kim in to see a social worker or counselor. Why do you shake your head?
Because I don't agree.
Because you know.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
Of course you don't. Well, I think it's really important, and I have talked to her teacher, and I've reflected on this with her friends from church and their parents, and they agree, they see the same thing, and they think that something is wrong, something's up.
So Jeff, you're saying it's not just your opinion. You've talked with Kim's teacher. You've talked with some of her friends and her friends' parents at church, and there seems to be, for you, a lot of people who are agreeing that something's going on with Kim.
Yep.
And you feel like she needs some help. Maybe she needs some professional help.
Or maybe if just a neutral party that can listen to her without her having to fear the repercussions or the consequences of what she's saying.
Maybe she needs someone to talk to, someone
she
doesn't have to be afraid of, somebody who,
that's not going to misinterpret what she's saying. Why are you so quiet?
Well, let me check in. I mean, you've been talking for a while now, and there are clearly lots of differences in the way you understand what you see going on with your two children, and the way you interpret what's going on, what you think you should do in response to what's going on. Jeff, you've said quite a bit. Shirley, you've certainly been a participant here. You have, in fact, quieted down. Where do you want to go with this? Would it be helpful to talk one-on-one privately with me? Do you want to
I would
take a break?
I would be willing to talk with you by myself. Because I'm not getting,
So it would be helpful for you to meet privately with me. Well,
I
that's
think
something
so.
we can do. And Jeff, I would be glad to meet privately with you as well.
I don't have a need for that.
Well, then maybe if you don't mind going, out in the waiting room for a few minutes,
Okay.
Shirley and I might spend a couple of minutes talking, and then I'll come and let you know when we're done.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yep.
All right, thanks.
So, there's things that John has said to me that he's asked me not to ever tell his dad, and he's done the same thing with Kimmy, and so we've made an agreement that we wouldn't tell him. I don't even know how to. I can't help him because he's got to actually find a way to get in with John. That's his access into Kimmy, is John, not raking her through social workers and counselors and,
So you're saying John's talked with you about stuff that's going
Yeah.
on with him, and he's talked with Kim as well.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that Kim is withdrawing from dealing with Jeff
Right.
is that he's not dealing with John.
Right. And I've said to John that he's got to talk to his dad, and he's just afraid to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to him about it. And I mean, the three of us talk about it. It's like knowledge, he's gay. He decided that, or however that comes about, that he is gay, that he's gay, and he's scared to death to tell his dad. And Kim knows, and I know, and it's like something that we accept in the house when we're together. But so he doesn't want to go to his dad's house because he can't be himself, and his sister can't be there because it's like the whole thing is around that. But I can't break the confidence. But at the same time, if I don't know how to have him actually, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Maybe I should never have made that agreement, but he's really scared to talk to his dad. He's scared. He's a good person. Jeff is a good person, but he's not very open-minded about that. And so that's the problem. That's the problem that's there, and I don't know what to do. Right. That's why they don't want to be with him as much. That's why they don't talk to him as much. Why would he want to go to Mass when he's going to a church that they don't approve? Of course he doesn't want to go, and his sister doesn't want to. It's like he's right. Something happened. That's what happened.
I see. So you are aware of this, and you agreed not to talk to Jeff about it,
Yeah.
about the fact that John
Yeah.
is gay, and Kim knows, and you know, and you three talk about it.
Yeah.
But Jeff is...
We're hiding it from him.
You're hiding it from Jeff.
Yeah.
And that's creating a lot of problems. And,
It's creating a lot of problems.
And you don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Because you had told John, and I guess maybe John and Kim, that you would not talk to Jeff about it.
Yeah.
But that leaves Jeff in the dark.
Right, and it hurts him and makes me sad. And
Yeah.
But what do I do?
Yeah. So it feels like you're sad about it. It's hard because you see him being hurt.
Yeah.
And you said he's a good person.
He's a good person.
There just doesn't seem to be anywhere to go with this because you agreed not to talk
Right.
with him.
Yeah.
And that's leaving Jeff
Right,
out.
and if I break that confidence, then I risk John. I mean, I think that'll cause an enormous upset, which at the same time, I'm in an upset anyway. So what do you
Right,
do? You know,
right,
it's like
right.
I'm screwed if I do. I'm screwed if I don't. Right.
So either way, you're screwed because
Exactly.
if you talk to Jeff, you're breaking John's confidence, and that could
Yeah.
really damage your relationship with him.
Yeah.
And if you don't talk
and
to
with
Jeff,
Kim,
and
because
with
she,
Kim,
the whole
and with
thing.
Kim.
It's like there's a,
Right.
but it's not fair to Jeff. It's not fair to Jeff.
Yeah.
So how do I get John to? How do I do to get? John needs to go to Jeff, or something. You know, I don't know.
So it feels, for you, one thing that would be ideal is if John were able to talk to Jeff himself.
Yeah.
But you're afraid that he's not going to be willing to do that, or he hasn't been so far.
I've been asking him to do it, and I keep asking, I talk to him, and I keep on saying, look, he might get upset at the beginning, but eventually, it's like at some point, but he doesn't, he's also hiding it at other places, right? It's not like he's just hiding it with his dad, he's hiding it at school. It's like he's trying to keep it all hidden, except for in little pockets.
So John's struggling a lot with this. He
Right.
feels free to talk
He's
to you
struggling a
about
lot
it and
with
to
it.
Kim,
Right.
but he doesn't feel free to talk about it at school.
Yeah.
He's hiding it at school. He's hiding it in other places.
Yeah.
And he's hiding it from his dad, from Jeff.
Right. See, and that's the part that's really upsetting, is that Jeff is accusing me of not caring and not being concerned, and at the same time it's like I'm so completely connected with what's happening in their life, and he's like, it's like, okay, it's like I am, it's like, but I don't know. So I don't quite know. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's like an impasse, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to move in any direction, except for that he could start to force the kids to go to counseling, which I don't want to have happen.
Right.
I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do to actually. I don't know what to do.
So it feels to you like you're at an impasse
Yeah.
because you can't break John's confidence.
No.
But if John doesn't talk to Jeff, then Jeff is probably going to push for therapy.
Yeah.
And you feel like that would be really a bad thing for John
And Kim.
and Kim.
It's like so dramatic. It's all just so dramatic, Yeah.
So it feels like there's nowhere for you to go with this. I mean,
Right.
you have this information. You can't talk about it.
Right.
You can talk to John, but you can't talk to
So
Jeff.
I have an idea. I mean, do you do mediations where you can have kids come too? Is there a place where?
Sure. I mean, so you're thinking that maybe in the context of a mediation, John might be able to talk
I
some
don't
with
know if
Jeff?
he'd be willing to. I don't know if he'd be. I got to find something. I don't know if he'd be willing to come.
So you feel like it is really important for Jeff to know what's going on with John, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
I do.
So what you'd like to do is figure out some way to
I
make
do. I do. I want to have that be. It was working really well. It was all working really well. And then when this happened, he's right. I mean, he's right. It went askew. But then how do I say, well, the reason why it went askew is because of this one. So it's
Yeah.
like I'd like it to go back. It's never going to go back to the way that it was, but I'd like it to, I'd like it to be peaceful
Right.
and
So
supportive, right?
Right. So you want it to be peaceful and supportive again. It had been. And now since John has decided that he's gay, it's really all
Yeah.
gone askew.
Yeah,
and
it has.
and you're feeling like you don't know how to get it back. You want it to be back the way it was. When
Right.
Jeff was more, supportive or more engaged with the kids and
He was happy. I mean, the kids were happy to be with him, and he was happy because they were happy, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like that big bloody elephant in the middle of the room thing.
So right now you're here with Jeff.
Right.
And he sees a problem. He doesn't understand what's going on. You understand what's going on, but you feel like you can't say anything about it.
Yeah.
So you're trying to think about where is there a place to move with that?
Right.
And one thing you thought about is, well, could you come back to mediation maybe with John and Kim? Are there other things that, maybe you want to think about? Ways that could move it?
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, there is. I suppose, I don't know, there must be some organizations or groups or something that assist. I don't know, there must be. I've not really looked to see if there's any kinds of other I mean, the bottom line is I need to have John have a conversation with Jeff, and I've tried everything to have him do it. I talked to Jeff about talking to John, and he just insults me.
So you've tried to talk to John. John is really unwilling at this point to talk to Jeff. You've tried
At
to
this point, yeah.
encourage Jeff to create some openings
Yeah.
for John to talk to him.
But he thinks that I don't know. He takes that as some sort of, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. He
Doesn't-
dismisses
yeah, it doesn't
those.
work.
Yeah. So you're thinking,
And I don't want Kim in the middle. And he loves both kids, but Kim really was like he's been very close with her. But I don't want to put her in the middle.
right?
And,
So yes,
because that would just make it worse. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I don't know. I mean, I just really feel stuck. I mean, one idea would be, in terms of having him come and do the mediation is one thing. If John would be, maybe just John and Jeff and me. Maybe just John and Jeff and me, or
so maybe a mediation.
maybe Jeff and John, and know me.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't think there's a problem with John. He thinks it's with Kim. And if he talks to Kim, then Kim's going to say she's going to be pushed to
Sure.
break the confidence as well. So
maybe you're thinking one thing you could suggest is that perhaps John and Jeff mediate. Except then,
there's no issue there. But Jeff doesn't think there's a problem. I think maybe the best thing is if we all do something together. I mean, I suppose we could do counseling thing together, but then I think that seems more like there's something to fix.
so the counseling might be perceived as more you're trying to fix a problem.
Right. Well, we kind of are.
Yeah, you kind of are. I mean, it is kind of a problem.
It is a problem.
So that would be another. That sounds like that's another possibility. You also had mentioned organizations. Maybe there's some
Maybe there's some
organizations that.
organizations. Do you guys have lists of anything like that?
Well, you could talk to staff about that. They may be aware of what resources are in the community, as well as therapists, and certainly mediation
Do
is an
therapists
option.
work with kids that are in that situation? Do they have?
I think staff would probably know.
would
I
know.
mean, I don't know. It seems probable that there are some people who do that kind of thing.
Okay. So I don't know what we do at this point.
So in terms of your mediation here with Jeff today, it's
Yeah, I don't want to leave him hanging. At the same time, yeah, I don't quite know what to do
yeah.
at this point.
So it's hard to figure out what to do now
Yeah.
because here you are with Jeff.
I mean,
Jeff is in the dark.
Right.
He doesn't see what you know. He doesn't know what you know. He's not even identifying the problem correctly.
No. Well, we've hid it from him very well.
Yeah. So would it make sense to talk with Jeff about some of these options of next steps of maybe a mediation
maybe.
with
I'm
the-
just afraid he's going to ask. Yeah.
So you're afraid he's going to ask you what's going on?
Yeah, I'm afraid he's going to demand to know. And then I just have to do it in a way where it's not like there's something I know that you don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we should just try it. I don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm. And if he asks you, if you feel like you really can't say anything.
About John?
Yeah.
I can't say anything. Yeah. I really can't. It was just too precious. It's just too important.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I could say something and then have there be an explosion and an upset, and over however many years maybe he'll never forgive me. But I don't want to do that.
Right. So it sounds like what you're beginning to think is maybe the best thing is to think about a way to get everybody together, maybe the family together with somebody who could help you.
Well,
have
Jeff
the
said
conversation.
having someone that's not a. He said to send Kimmy alone, but maybe I could suggest it, like we could all come and have.
Yeah.
I mean, we could even have you. Could you do another session and have the kids be there too? Is that
It's possible.
It's possible.
Sure. I mean, the agency would have to. You'd have to talk with staff about that. But if you want to have a second session, it's quite possible that.
I mean, would that put you into a situation though where if in that session John doesn't say something that
I wouldn't have an agenda going into the
Okay.
session.
Okay.
It would be up to you and John and Kim to decide who says what about what when. So you've come up with the possibility of getting everybody together to talk about it. And
John is the key. Kim will come if John says
John
yes.
comes.
Kim will come, and
Yeah.
she'd probably be relieved.
so I am aware it's been probably
Okay.
about 10
Yeah.
minutes. So I don't want to rush you. On the other
No, I'm
hand,
good.
I'm aware that Jeff is hanging out there not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
So do you want to think a little bit more about what you're going to say when Jeff comes
Um,
back in, or are you comfortable
I'm-
picking it up?
Yeah, I think I'll just suggest that we talk about having another mediation as a negotiation. Like he wants to take her to therapy. How about if we do a mediation with all of us and see what he says? Just take it from there.
So ask Jeff to come back
Yeah,
in and sort
yeah,
of talk about
yeah,
that.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, so shall I go get him?
yeah. That'd be great.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. So Jeff, thanks. That maybe went a tad longer than we thought, but Shirley had some things to sort of think through, and I want to just check with you again. You're okay without meeting with me privately?
Yeah, I had a lot of time to think.
So you had a lot of time to think.
Yeah, and I the more I think about this, the more I know you're not telling me something, and I really want to know what it is, because I'm getting a little nervous, and if there's something that you're wanting to spring on me, I don't deal well with surprises, so.
So the time you had to think out there, you really decided that Shirley's got some information she's not sharing with you.
That I don't, yeah.
And you don't like surprises, and if there's something she needs to tell you, you really would like to have her say it.
Especially if it has something to do with her or with the children. Wow. I mean, it's not you, is it? I mean, you're okay.
I'm fine. I'm fine, except for that you're upset and, there's the problem, right? I was, and when I was talking with Judy, I think, Jeff, what might be useful is if we have another mediation and we have the kids come and talk it through with them. There's things that they need to say to you that it's not my place to say to you. There's things that you can say to them. It's not my place for me to talk for you with them.
So you got the three of you have got something that you're going to spring on me. Is that what you're saying?
It's not about springing something on you.
You don't do well with surprises.
If it's going to be them against me, why would I want?
It's not about them against you. It's not about them against you.
I've tried to be a good dad.
You're a good dad. You're a good dad. And there's...
Is there something wrong? Have I done something wrong? Have I hurt one of them, or?
No, I don't think so.
So you're concerned, Jeff, that maybe this is about you not being a good dad. You've tried to be a good dad. And
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I'm just.
And you're thinking the worst, and for you the worst maybe would be that you did something that was harmful.
Right. I mean, I love my babies. I just can't imagine being without them, and I don't harbor any real animosity towards you anymore. It's just something is just so wrong, and I don't know what to do.
I just think there needs to be a place, like you said, when you said that about Kim going to a therapist, where there's a place where she could talk and it's safe to talk. I just think there needs to be a place where they could come and be there. There's things that
Why can't they just talk to me?
Well, I don't know. Maybe because you don't do so well with surprises. Or maybe,
Yeah, maybe.
So you prefer that they just talk with you, Jeff? That for you would be better, and
I think. I don't know. Maybe not.
maybe not.
I'm getting nervous now.
Yeah.
Something's got to give, though, because it's not right. And I mean, if we lived together under the same roof, we'd be able to this would be something we'd be working on together, whatever it is. But I'm an odd man out now, and this is really painful and
So this
a bit frightening.
So it's painful. It's frightening for you to feel like the odd man out. That there's something going on and you don't know what it is, and you realize you need to know.
So there is something going on.
I'm not going to talk about stuff that's going on. I think you and the kids need to have a talk. You guys need to speak.
What the hell?
You guys need to talk. There's nothing that's going on that can't be resolved with you guys talking. And there's nothing that can't be resolved through you guys talking. Nothing. There's nothing life-threatening. There's nothing where anyone's in harm.
You know what's going on, and you're not going to tell me. You're not going to tell me.
So where you are right now is, Jeff, you get this sense, really strong sense, that Shirley knows something she's not going to tell you. And Shirley, what you're saying is, Jeff's got to talk to the kids, and maybe a mediation would be a good place to do it, or maybe someplace where there's somebody who can be there to help.
Why can't we just do it? Why can't we just meet, the four of us? What's wrong with that?
Well, we could try that. I mean, we could try that.
It's been a while.
But here's the problem. My problem is that you get really nasty about me, and you say things that I'm not good with them, and I'm not willing for you to do that with them there. So for me, I would rather have there be someone who's going to kind of keep it in check, because even today, it's like you've insulted my being their mother a number of times. So, I don't want to have a meeting with everyone, and what it turns into is kind of like
I didn't insult you about being their mother.
You did.
I insulted your style, just like you insulted my style.
When did I insult your style?
About not being approachable and...
I said... all right.
So... Surely you're saying one of the reasons you think it'd be better to not just meet with the four of you is that you're afraid that Jeff's going to say things about you and about you as a parent. About you as
I think
mother,
it's good to have.
Hard.
Yeah.
And having somebody else there would help to.
Yeah.
The language you used was keep the conversation in check.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm going to go off on you or something.
No. No more than you have today.
I didn't go off on you today. I
said no more than you have today. No more than you have today.
But today was unacceptable to you.
It was not fun.
Whatever.
It wasn't enjoyable. I keep trying to give you suggestions of things that you could do with them, and everything I say, you take it like you don't listen to me. So I just think it would be useful to have someone who's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's,
It is.
So Shirley, you're pushing pretty hard for a conversation with the whole family, with a mediator or somebody present who's not part of the family,
and not a counselor. Or I just think when you put that in there in the mind of, especially with Kim, it's like if they start thinking they have to go to therapy or they've got, you know what I mean? I think that they
whatever. I mean, that's fine. I just think we need a little help.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, maybe it sounds like you're willing to try that. Maybe, in fact, you do need a little help, and getting back together as a family
but
maybe is what makes sense.
The one thing is John and Kim have to be willing to come.
Right. You don't think they would be?
I'll ask them. I can't force them.
Why do you have to ask? Why can't I ask?
All right, you can ask. Ask.
I don't know what I'm asking. You have to ask.
Well, that was my point.
So it sounds like you're disagreeing about even who should ask about this. The other thing is the agency contacts people, so we can.
That would be good.
We can contact.
Yeah, but I think that
John
would be
a
little weird for a 12-year-old, 13, almost 13 to.
Or after you've talked to them, they could check in. staff could check in with them. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I could talk to them, and then
Yeah.
the staff could talk to them, and
Jeff
then
could
they
talk-
could choose.
yes.
You could talk to them too. You could tell them what you're feeling and what you'd like to do. That you want to know.
Yeah, I'm deaf and dumb going into this, but whatever.
Well, you know that you're not happy with how things are going.
Yeah, I'm.
You
not
know that you're not
it's
happy with
true.
your relationship with them right now, the way things are right now. You're not deaf and dumb about that. You could tell them that.
So you're suggesting, Shirley, that Jeff could simply say, look, he doesn't have to know what's going on, but he knows what's going on isn't good. And he can suggest a mediation as a way to really try to talk together about what's gone wrong and how it can kind of get back on track.
Right. Yeah.
This is such bullshit. Just talk. Why
Feels
can't
like
they just
bullshit to you,
Why
Jeff?
can't they just talk to me? It's.
You
I'm
think
not,
they
I'm
should
not
just,
a monster.
just
I'm
be
just
able
not
to
a
talk
monster.
to you?
I'm a good dad. I mean, I
Yeah,
love my
yeah, you
kids.
feel
Why
like
can't
you're-
they talk to me? I don't get
So
it. And
it's-
that's why I feel like something.
So it's
I
hard
want
for
to blame
you.
somebody, and I want to blame you because I don't get this. I don't get this.
Yeah.
I'm so. Ah.
So it's hard for you. You're not a monster. You're a good father. You just don't get why you just can't have this conversation.
I just don't get it. I am really out. All right, I'm sorry. Let's just do the mediation. I'll stop crying here. That's fine. If you think the kids will be all right with it, that's fine.
I'll ask. I mean, I'll talk to them, and then we can have the staff call them and talk to them, and then you could talk to them too.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, you could talk to them too, and just
All right.
you know, at least it's like doing something different than what we've done till now. No.
So it sounds like what you're agreeing to is to each talk with the kids about maybe coming in as a family. And families do mediate. You know, we see families at CDRC quite a bit. So you could talk to them, Shirley, Jeff, you could talk to them, and staff could be in touch and probably schedule something that would work for all of you.
And would it be fair to request you to be there?
It's not. If there's a second session, it's pretty common, unless
Okay.
there's a scheduling problem for the same mediator to work. So yeah, I think I could do that.
Great.
So I'll relay this information to staff.
Okay.
Does one of you want to be in touch with the agency after you've talked with the kids so they know when to reach out in terms of scheduling?
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Okay. I'll do that.
All
I'll
right.
talk to them tonight,
So
and then I'll call the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll talk tonight, and then tomorrow.
Why don't I
after
call you after I talk to them?
And then when I pick them up for mass in the morning, we can talk afterwards. Maybe I can talk to them about that. I won't pry.
Yeah.
I won't.
I would just be.
I'll just kind of
give
say,
them space.
this is. We just need to have a family meeting, and we thought this would be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jeff, you'll talk to them first, Shirley, I think is what you're agreeing to, and then Jeff, you'll maybe after mass talk with them just in terms of a family meeting. You'll be trying to get information
yeah.
out and just suggest this as a good way to do that.
Yeah.
So is that something you want written down?
I don't think we need to write
No.
it down.
Okay. So I'll convey this to staff, and then I'll
Okay.
tell them to be expecting your call. And are there other things you want to talk about, or is that where you want to leave it for now?
I wouldn't know what to talk about, even if I
know,
wanted
Jeff.
to.
It feels like, you got a lot of unanswered questions. So I guess staff will be back in touch. You'll be in touch with them, and they'll be
Yeah.
in touch with you. And I know this wasn't easy, especially for you, Jeff, and I think it actually wasn't real easy for you, Shirley, either. But I think it sounds like you've made some decisions about where you want to go next, and maybe I'll see you with John and Kim here in a week or so.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Judy, thank you for doing that mediation. It was certainly a very interesting one. A lot to talk about, but one of the questions on my mind is that in some ways the two people came to the mediation to discuss and develop presumably a parenting plan for their two children. And actually looking back on it, there really wasn't that much discussion of the specifics of a parenting plan. And I'm wondering how you felt about that or how you reacted to that.
Well, I don't assume that the issue people name when they talk to staff or a mediator about what they need to talk about is what they're actually going to talk about. So I wasn't surprised that they didn't get there. I really just go wherever they want to go. And it was interesting to me that at one point Jeff actually says talking about the schedule isn't really going to help the situation because he's identified the problem as something very different. But I think even if he hadn't done that, for me, I just don't assume that they want to cover what they said they want to cover. So I would just follow them wherever they want to go.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of following, it's very interesting that you really do follow the heat in the session, the points of disagreement, the intensity of that. None of that is glossed over. You're right with those disagreements and that important information all along. What helped you stay there with them?
Well, I think following the heat is something that I've really learned to do. It's a hallmark of our practice. And for me, it's where people need help. I mean, when we're angry, when things are hot, we say things that are important. And we also sometimes exaggerate and say things we don't mean. So by staying with that heat, I help people hear themselves. And even if I include some of the emotion and the hard words, it helps the listener also hear it differently. So it just seems to be really a helpful thing to do.
Do you ever feel as if you're pushing them further apart when you do reflect or you hold up these huge differences and emotional differences between them?
No, I actually think holding up the differences helps them see it. I mean, I think they know how far apart they are. I'm not providing any new information. I'm just where they are. And when I say to them, here you are, look how far apart you are, then they think about, oh yeah, that's how far apart we are. What do we want to do about it? So for me, that's something that really helps them make decisions about where they want to go.
Mm-hmm. You certainly illustrate the whole range of transformative mediation skills throughout this entire session. And I'm wondering, what are your intuitive rules for when to come in? Is it something that can be articulated, or is it just an instinct?
Well, I think it's some of each. I do a lot of training too, and people always ask that question. You know, when do you come in? When do you come in? And clearly, you try to come in when there are pauses. But I think that I come in when I feel like people are saying something that's really important to them, when they're expressing strong emotion, when they're sharing new information, or when they've got an insight, something has shifted for them. So I think primarily it's a gut sense that I have, and I think if you watching it carefully myself, I see a lot of times I sort of start to come in and then I stop. Because either they interrupt me or they keep talking. So generally speaking, I try to let them talk and I try not to interrupt them. So part of when I come in is when there's space for me to come in.
Mm-hmm. One thing that stands out is that when you do the reflections for either party, they carry with them quite a bit of emotional support for those two people. Do you ever feel a concern, though, that when you're doing it for one party, the other party feels as if you're siding with them or you're too much in their camp?
That has almost never happened to me. I feel like if I'm doing a good reflection, then the speaker, the person I'm reflecting, is really able, they connect with it. There's a visceral connection, but the listener seems to intuit or figure out that what I'm doing is just repeating. And since I sometimes repeat them as well, it generally is useful for people, and they don't object.
Mm-hmm. Kind of along the same line, I mean, there was a real trajectory of emotions, a lot of different emotions throughout this whole session, in the private session as well as in the joint session. And you could really see that your emotional tenor was changing in the way you did the skills or how you produced the skills as it changed. How do you develop that ability as a mediator?
Practice. I think a lot of practice. And I think actually one of my favorite things about being a transformative mediator is that it pushes me to be with people in a non-judgmental, just a way that they feel. My ability to be with someone is something that I've really honed through the years of practice. And I think it's that sense of having someone with them that helps people as much as anything else.
When you say the sense of being with them, I noticed that you had a pretty active style. You were in with the skills quite frequently in comparison to some other mediators. Yeah. Do you think that that's your style in general, or is it more warranted by what was unfolding in this session?
Well, I think it's style. I think part of it is style. I think some mediators are more active and some mediators are less active. And I think you can be an excellent transformative mediator either way. I think my style is to be more active. Those people who know me know that I'm kind of an active person in all aspects of my life. But I guess I also feel like it's helpful. I feel like people derive benefit from me being in more. They feel supported. They feel my presence. They get to hear themselves and each other. And in my experience, it's really useful. So that leads me to want to get in, not stay out.
It seemed like to do what you did with this session, staying with the parties, going with their emotions, going with some frustration, a little bit of retracking on some issues, requires a lot of patience. Yeah. How do you stay with the parties and not get ahead of them?
Well, I think one of the things is that I'm deliberately patient. I always remind myself going into a mediation that this is their conversation, not my conversation. That what matters is not what I think, but what they think. And what matters is not what I conclude, but what they conclude. So it's a discipline to stay with them and to not get ahead of them. And to do that, I have to take myself out of the picture. I mean, there's a way in which I'm present without being purposeful in who I am. I mean, I'm not myself in the same way when I'm a mediator. I have a persona that's very specific to who I am when I mediate.
But are you at the point where you no longer have to suppress the instincts to do that, or are the instincts coming up and you just can hold them at bay?
I think the instincts are always there. I think with practice it gets easier and easier to hold them at bay. I mean, I think it's it's a lot like meditation practice in a way. It's you have the thought and you let it go. So it's not that I don't think this is taking a long time or you already said that, but it's more now I hear that voice and I say, oh yes. And I'll even say sometimes in a reflection, yes, you said this and you said it before.
Was there any particular example in this mediation where you really had to work at not going there?
Well, I think in the separate session with Shirley, there's a lot of repetition. I mean, she's really stuck and there's some instinct in me that wants to help her, that wants to figure this out, and so I think that's one place where I really hold back.
Because it would be easier in the separate session to kind of push her or go along with her, get her to go somewhere.
Sure. And then actually right after that, when Jeff comes in and says, I think you know something you're not telling me, and that's exactly, I mean, Shirley was concerned that would happen.
Yeah. And was it difficult for you after that private session when you heard information that was pretty critical to the whole way the conflict was unfolding, but Jeff didn't know? Was it hard for you to keep in the same place post that conversation with the parties?
No, because it was really clear, because it's up to them, it's not up to me. And there's a way in which when you can get into that space as a mediator, it's so freeing. And I think I've succeeded in getting there so that I don't worry about, what's Shirley going to do? Or if I worry about, if for an instant I worry, what's Shirley going to do? Because he's confronting her, he's accusing her of knowing something. But then I just let that go and I figure Shirley will figure out what to do.
Does part of this rely on sort of your instinct to say they'll get to where they need to be? I mean, are you consciously thinking, as the theory of transformative mediation says, people have what it takes?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think I could do this. I don't think I could be with people who get so angry, who get so frustrated, who get so confused, so sad. I don't think I could be with them in the same way if I didn't understand that this angry, even cursing, attacking, sarcastic person, that was the whole of that person. So I think I really hold that sense that there's much more to this person than this angry interaction they're caught in. That's a piece of it. And then another piece of it is something I think in something that you and Brooke wrote a long time ago about. I really understand that I'm stepping into the river of their lives. And yeah, hopefully that will change the current a little, but it's their life, and there's a lot that came before and that there's a lot that's going to go after that has nothing to do with me and my stepping in. So I step in and I step out. And that's another image that I think I keep with me.
Mm-hmm. You know, towards the end of the session, Shirley, in talking about possibly doing another mediation with the two children, sort of comments that she would like it to be a mediation because mediation provides a sense of safety. And I thought that was an interesting comment. You know, given the skills you use, given the way you mediated it, what was giving her the sense that there was a sense of safety in being in a mediation session?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of mediators think about safety as I will protect you from curses, I'll shut down any loud interaction, I'll interrupt sarcasm. You know, they don't go for the heat. They try to shut that down, and that's their definition of safety. Or they protect people by in other ways. But I think in a funny way not funny, but in a profound way, I think that belief in people's capacity, my being willing to stand with somebody when they're being sarcastic and ugly to another person helps them move out of that space. And I think my presence creates safety just because there's another person there, just because I'm not afraid to go where they want to go or where they need to go. And that fearlessness that I have, that willingness to go wherever they want to go, in a funny, maybe even counterintuitive way, makes them feel safer.
You know, we often say that, you know, the mediation process, you know, allows people to have a conversation in a different way, that there's a qualitative shift. Did you feel that was happening in this conversation?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, I look back at the video now and I look at the early parts, and of course I understand so much more because I have no idea what's going on as it's unfolding. But I feel like I see a lot of examples where I'll do a reflection. I'll say back to Jeff, for instance, exactly what Jeff says. And Jeff, yes, he'll acknowledge that that's what he said. And then he goes a level deeper. And then he talks, he explains himself in a different way that opens up the conversation. And I think that's a way that it really supports a quality conversation. And then when I do a summary, and I say, here you are, and you're really far apart, and you're thinking this, and you're thinking that, and they stop and they look at where they are, and they think, yeah, we are this far apart. What are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And that really helps them.
I really noticed that at the point where, you know, Shirley started saying, maybe I do want a separate session. It seemed like there was a growth of understanding of how stuck they were, given what she knew, and that conversation couldn't go anywhere else until she thought through something about how to maybe change the conversation. Yeah. And so the private session was more appealing to her because of that need.
Yeah, I think private sessions are really helpful. I mean, it's not that they're in every mediation I do, but I always try to mention it in my opening because I think it's important for people to know it's an option. And I'm not afraid to suggest them. I mean, if I make a suggestion like a private session, I always add more than one option. So I don't just say, do you want to have a separate session? I sort of start to say it here. I think it gets cut off, but I'll suggest a break, or do you want to just keep talking? But I think that one-on-one time allows a person to really get a lot clearer, to figure some things out that they need to figure out privately before they're ready to go back and say it to the other person.
When you were doing the private session with Shirley, were you concerned about Jeff not being there and what he was going through during that time?
Not initially. I mean, I do, you know, it goes on for a while, and I feel like even when I'm in a separate session, I'm a mediator for both parties, so I can't ignore the fact that somebody's sitting out there. And if Shirley needed a lot more time, I might have even suggested to her that I check with Jeff to see if he was okay if we continued. But, you know, I'm also not afraid in a separate session to bring things in from the joint session. So I think at one point I even say to her, and here you are talking to Jeff, and what are you going to do? So, I mean, I think that there's a way in which even when I'm meeting with one party, I mean, that's my focus, but I'm not forgetting that there's another person or more than one other person involved in this conversation. Mm-hmm.
Judy, the opening was very conversational. Both parties were really involved in it. But I noticed that you didn't really ask them a question about if they needed ground rules or guidelines for their conversation. What were your instincts about that?
Well, actually, I forgot. I have bullet points that I usually refer to when I do my opening. My sense is that it had already gone on for quite a while, and so I'm not sure I thought I ought to go there. And I find that if I ask that question at all, I often ask if people have any requests of each other in terms of how they want to have the conversation. But I find more and more now I tend not to even ask that, because the only time it seems that people have a concern about that is when that's the issue that brought them there. That a lot about their problem is the way they're communicating with each other. And if that's the case, it comes up. I'm also very comfortable bringing things up later in the session. Sometimes if I don't get to say something in my opening, I'll bring up later and I'll say, I forgot to mention at the opening that sometimes people find it helpful to set up some agreements about how they have the conversation.
So in some ways, the way you're handling it is also consistent with the principle of following the parties.
Yeah. And Jeff seemed sometimes engaged and sometimes not engaged, so I was worried about going on for so long a little bit. And I don't know, they seemed pretty calm and they seemed pretty centered, so I don't know. And maybe it's really just that I forgot.
Are there any ways that you think that this mediation was unsuccessful from a transformative point of view?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I guess my understanding of what I'm trying to do is help them figure out where they need to go. And they made some really important decisions. They moved a lot. When you think about where they were at the beginning and where they are at the end, it's not going to be easy. And of course, a lot's going to depend on if John decides to talk to Jeff and tell Jeff. But I think Shirley gets really clear that the situation as is really not viable for her. And Jeff really begins to understand that there's something else going on that needs to be talked through. And they've kind of made a commitment to talk it through. And I think that's real positive progress.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.